Hi, Bob here. Have you ever seen one of those collaboration videos and wondered just how they work?
Hello everyone and welcome to another City Skylines video. Today I am participating in Bon Bon B's 81 player collaboration where each player gets one tile to build and there will be 81 players on the whole map. If you'd like to participate, there might still be some available edge tiles to apply for. You can find the link to the latest instructional video in the description below. Now let's dive right in and check out the tile I'll be building on. Let's begin with a relatively flat piece of land and see where the road leads us. The first exciting addition to our city is going to be the ChirpX Rocket Launch Site. I'll also add a perimeter road around the facility. Now after fixing the slopes and removing the trees, I think it is done. Quick fix, just going to edit the city name. It's time to lay down some roads for an industrial zone. You might be wondering why we are choosing this particular spot on our landlocked countryside map. Next up, I am going to pick out a few buildings that we'll be placing in this area. I will line up the buildings without any smokestacks along this road, while the ones with smokestack will settle in right here. It was at this moment that I had a revolutionary idea. Instead of parking on all these roads, why not transform it to a mini collector using the small 4-lane roads? Why stop there? Why not extend this concept throughout the entire tile? Since this is supposed to be a heavy industrial area, I want to have a power plant here. Nuclear, too large. Coal, too small. Oil, perfect. At this point, I was all set to plop a few concrete airport apples. But then this thing here caught my attention and gave me a bit of distraction. Just in case you are wondering, this structure serves as the foundation for the big countdown clock to the release of City Skylines 2. The plan here was to make this a cool spot for tourists to watch the rocket launch, but I realized this spot was just too close for comfort. So I have decided to move it.
He said it!
Now looking back, I have no idea what I was thinking when I put this right here in front of the assembly tower. You can't even see the rockets from this angle. Then I had a moment of clarity and shifted it to the right side. However, it was positioned on a 4-lane road, and given the angle and the terrain height, it still didn't feel quite right. In the end, I relocated it to the vacant spot near the industrial area. Even though the terrain here isn't ideal, I thought about using the terraforming network or some roads. But here's a spoiler, I ended up doing nothing. Next up, another distraction on the sub-buildings section, this harbor hub with bus base. However, I couldn't place it on the ground, so I had to get creative. I ventured to the river, placed it on the shoreline, and then moved it back onto the tile. Ooh, a jump cut. Here's where another new idea popped into my head while I was surfing YouTube. A solar farm. So I headed up to the little hill I've got and weaved some road to make room for the solar panel. Oh, and let's not forget about the telescope. I'm sure that's pretty important to some folks out there. I wasn't too thrilled with the seemingly unnecessary zigzagging of the road, but I also didn't want a straight path up the hill. However, as you can see, the terrain here isn't steep enough to justify all those twists and turns, so I had to come up with an excuse. A big old rock. Next on the list, I wanted to include this Creators Library, a special tribute from Colossal Order to all the content creators who have contributed to the game. Remember when I casually dropped those industrial buildings without much thought and left one side of the block unattended? Well, it's finally time to address that oversight. At least I hope so. As long as I don't get sidetracked again. So, I guess it is a good time to talk about the plan now. This is the overview of the map. Some office area here and some residential down south. And maybe some more residential on the right. Let's see how it goes. Okay, before we do any of that, I found this shopping center asset that I need to place down somewhere. It looks too good not to be included. And then we can turn our attention to the residential area down south. This neighborhood will be exclusively made up of vanilla residential buildings. Look at me go, plopping random buildings without even thinking about it. Yeah, now this is more like it. This house right here looked pretty unusual. There isn't a single door on the so-called front facing the road. Instead, all the doors are on the left side and one tiny back door on the right. Here I am using Move It to reset the house, mainly to adjust the sizes of the trees, so that these oddly colored trees are less prominent. This small triangular plot looks like the perfect spot for a tiny commercial building. Unfortunately, the only options available in vanilla are horrendously unsuitable for this location. Then I stumbled upon this marketplace building, and it's definitely going to be placed on the other side of the neighborhood here. Alright, this grocery-like building has some potential. It could use a little bit of parking and maybe a few more shopping options. I initially thought about adding a farm asset in there, but I eventually decided to move it to an actual large field. While I was in the process of adding a gravel path, I stumbled upon this junction and it had me puzzled. You see, I typically use 81 tiles 2 and unlock all tiles, so this border crossing network wasn't all that familiar to me. Exciting stuff. Vanilla office buildings. If you play without workshop assets, you will understand the struggle. There are so few short vanilla buildings to choose from, and it can get pretty frustrating. In fact, it got me so much that I took a break for about 2 days, I believe. Actually, I was wrong. I did continue playing a bit longer. After finishing up the office area, I took a peek at the parks menu, and I just had to add this Japanese garden. And also a makeshift park with the botanical garden. Since we are nearly halfway through the video, now's the perfect time to ask you to give it a like if you're enjoying it. And of course, if you're not, feel free to hit the dislike button to share feedback with the creator. Oh, and by the way guys, stay tuned for some exciting CS2 content coming your way soon, as October is right around the corner. Also, Old Pound Pound will be making a comeback before the release of City Skylines 2. So if you're interested, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Anyway, let's get back to the video. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention at the beginning of this save. I was supposed to check the limits. I didn't do it for this build, but I did it before, and it's exactly the same as what you can see on the screen. Each participant is restricted to a maximum number of 500 buildings, 500 props, 300 nodes, 300 segments, and 2500 trees. The amount column you see here represents the value before starting the build, and in the next scene it is showing the current values. So, buildings, props, and trees are nowhere near the limits, but the nodes and segments are pretty close to their limits. I'm not sure how much I'll be able to build with these constraints. And for some reason, I currently own 82 areas. Back at the shopping center area, it's clear that this place needs some parking. Let's go ahead and add a parking space. I really like how the road going through the parking area turned out. Now looking back, I realize I should have used the road with wider sidewalks to make it look even better. Take a look at this vast empty field up to the north. Doesn't it seem a bit too barren? Let's kick things off by adding some hedge lines. Next, let's divide this land into 7 separate farms. After that, I'll sprinkle in some farm related buildings to bring this countryside to life. This is when it hit me just how sloped this land is. I really don't like those road not connected notifications, so I need to bring it closer to the road. Normally on other builds, I just convert it to a procedural object. Alright, new day, same build, and this time I brought along some goodies. I got my 5 workshop assets and I'll discuss each of them in details as I use them in the build. Continuing with our space exploration theme, let's take our first subscription with the amazing unique building, the Sagan-Tyson Center for Space by Boldly Building. This asset has been around for quite some time, yet it still looks absolutely stunning. When I first saw this asset, I actually thought it was a real world building. However, it turns out to be a fully fictional structure, although it incorporates elements from the real world. Either way, it's a really fantastic asset. Take a look at how amazing it appears in these shots. From the observatory on the top to the Saturn V rocket, the space art on the wall, and of course the planetary bodies, all of these are visually refreshing and captivating. This is also the first thing that catches your eyes when you enter the town from this direction. Moving on, we have the Industrial Large Modules Pack by Cape Cove. While it includes a few functional industrial buildings, what really caught my attention are the prop versions, as you can see me placing over the field. It looks like I forgot to complete this final field. I was resetting this building to try to make the color similar to the neighboring one, but I guess this asset does not have a native whitish roof. Next up to the other planned residential neighborhood, I've selected this spot behind the observatory and solar farm. Although it's quite close to the tile border, it still seems like a better location compared to other potential spots. As you saw, I intentionally avoided using the closest intersection to connect the new neighborhood because it just felt too close to the space launch facility. These houses you see here are from the UK Housing Semi-Detached No. 2 pack created by Mac Welchman, another old yet high quality asset pack. Given that this place was essentially a massive cul-de-sac, I made the decision to connect it to the observatory hill. Now somehow I got distracted coming to the industrial area, and while I was here, I removed those repetitive industrial buildings with the new office building pack I downloaded. Now it's time to build another office park using the West Coast office pack. These buildings are quite generic but still offer a unique charm. This space next to the shopping center seemed like the perfect location for it. I love this office building so much that I added more of them in front of the rocket launch site, keeping the same color scheme as the main tower. Following that, I sprinkled a few more of those industrial modules here and there. I am getting quite close to the border this time, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed that whoever's building on that neighboring tile doesn't decide to add any farm to their small triangular area. So at this point, I suspect I am likely already over the node limits, but I have barely added any props. So I added a recycling bin, a garbage bin, an S logo, another S logo, Illuminati signs, replaced bus depot with token technologies, filled up this void with an abnormal upside, and finally a City Skylines 2 propaganda. 151 props in total, out of the 600 allowed. Fantastic. Interestingly, I am still under the node limits. Anyway, I totally forgot I have another asset. The Istiklal Jakarta Grand Mosque created by Fayed. It's a scaled down model of Southeast Asia's largest mosque located in Indonesia. I have also added a shared parking for the mosque and the office buildings. Then I added some fences around the perimeter of the parking and the mosque. And then I added a big park, a tennis court, and a basketball court. Then I added a food truck, a soda stall, some tables and benches in front of the mosque, and some more benches in the botanical garden paths. And then this three-way facing clock, perfect for the junction in front of the space center. And a few benches and garbage cans. There are already some benches at the back of the space center, so I just drew a path around it. Since we don't have any administrative building in this build, this Amsterdam Palace looked like the perfect one for the job. And what better place rather than placing it on the road to the new neighborhood we built. And of course some parking, even though the land is not exactly flat. Since I have a lot of tree count, I thought a forest here would be a very good idea. But you don't really have to watch me build it, I'll just show you the result. So yeah, I didn't build a forest, but I did plant some trees. This beautiful piece of art installation was built just by using the wild bushes and blooming jacarandas, and a few gravel paths as well. Since I wasn't recording for a while, I also made some other changes here and there, like adding these industrial modules in front of the space center, and also added this fence here. Quick update, Bonbonbee informed us of the deadline on September 24. Time for a quick limit check. Net nodes is almost max and net segments is already over the threshold. Cue the node hunting montage. Okay, final limit check, and looks like everything is below the maximum. I might add some few props, but other than that nothing will probably change. Hope you enjoyed this longer video. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. Feel free to drop a comment if you have any questions or want to see more of my build. You can also download my save from the workshop. A big thanks to Bonbonbee for organizing this collaboration, and thanks to all the participants on Discord. You can find Bonbonbee's channel linked in the description, where you will be able to check out the final combined video. Enjoy and take care. Bye.